Jimmy Spoon and the Pony Express by Kristina Gregory, Chapter 23, The Hideout. Jimmy and Penn reached the northern end of the Ruby Mountain Range about an hour before sunset. Shadowy canyons met the foothills, which were bushy with juniper and sage. Beyond was the desert, purple and brown in the waning light. They were far from the overland trail. While the horses drank from a wide, shallow stream, Jimmy gathered twigs and leaves for the fire. He opened up a small leather pouch that had been smoked in beef fat to make it waterproof. Inside were the matches Mr. Tagg had made for them, short pieces of waxed cord dipped in sulfur. When rubbed against a rough stone, the tip ignited. It had a horrible smell of rotten eggs, but its blue flame quickly blazed through the kindling. Jimmy was glad Penn was with him for the companionship, and so he could hunt the small game they would need for food. Jimmy's head ached so much at the end of the day, he just wanted to lie down and sleep. Milo had been right. He was not well enough to travel alone. Suddenly, Penn appeared, running through the brush, the rifle swinging at his side. He was gesturing frantically, and not until he reached Jimmy did he speak. "Quick, Jimmy," he said, kicking dirt onto the flames. "Put out the fire." Jimmy hurriedly scooped sand into the pit. "Why, what is it?" he asked. But Penn only motioned with his head. Together they untethered their horses and led them to a stand of cottonwoods on the other side of the stream. The bedrolls and gear were still tied to the saddles. "Jimmy," he said in a low voice, "I heard men below the ridge there, drunken men. They were talking about a murder. Their horses are corralled in that box canyon we passed. What should we do?" Jimmy stumbled at the ground with the toe of his foot, with the toe of his boot. Jimmy stubbed at the ground with the toe of his boot. His head hurt, and he was hungry. Soon it would be dark, and they would need to eat. But the idea of spying on outlaws appealed to him more. "Let's go see," Jimmy whispered. With a nod, Penn slung the rifle over his shoulder. He led them into the stream, where the sound of water would muffle their running. They followed it up to the South Fork, where white water flowed too swiftly for them to wade. Trailing its narrow beach, they soon came to a fallen log that lay across the river, inches above the rapids. It was slippery with moss. With spray misting their arms and legs, the boys carefully crept along its trunk, through its tangle of roots, then onto shore. Penn pointed to a thicket beyond the trees. When they reached it, they flattened themselves, facing down in a spongy bed of pine needles. Jimmy's feet squished uncomfortably in his boots as he crawled with Penn toward a ledge. From their bellies, they looked below. 8 men lounged around a campfire, all rough-looking characters, laughing loudly. A brown jug rolled in the dirt on its side, first kicked by one muddy boot, then another. Its missing cork indicated to Jimmy that whatever liquid had been inside was no longer. His eyes widened when he noticed the dapper gentleman off to the side. The man looked familiar. He was cleaning a gun and laughing along with the others. When he turned slightly, revealing a handsome profile, Jimmy knew who it was. Jack Slade. So Milo and Mr. Tagg had been right. Jack Slade wasn't to be trusted. Maybe he had killed 22 people. Jimmy strained to see if there were any grisly mementos lying about, but saw only sacks of U.S. mail and an assortment of luggage in small chests. And he was in it with the Rex Dooley gang. Jimmy began crawling backward and away from the ledge, pulling at Penn's soggy jeans so he would do the same. Another time, another day, Jimmy would have attempted a daring rescue of the mail. He would have stampeded their horses. He would have rounded up a posse to hunt down the thieves. A little danger would be exciting. But today, Jimmy wanted no trouble. He was wearing his eagle feather. Old Mother was waiting for him, and he was not going to break a promise. Moments before sunset, the boys made it back to the grove of cottonwoods. Without needing to speak, they pulled themselves into their saddles and rode out. A full moon was climbing skyward, and like a trusted old friend, it would help the boys see their way to safety. And that is the end of Chapter 23.